thing behind me, originally from the UK, now happily living in the US, building this kind of thing and wasting tons of money. So I ended up using the SR20 DT, which is a Japanese motor usually found in the Silvia or the 180SX in Japan. The reason I went with it is it's very, very light. It's very small, it's very compact, and you can make a ton of power, and there's a ton of mods available. It's so popular over here in the US now that getting hold of any modification for the engine is really easy. And primarily, it sits so far back in the engine bay that it actually turns into sort of a mid-engine car because it's actually, a little way behind the crossmember. So that was primarily my motivation for using this engine. I went with the CCW wheels. They make all sorts of custom sizes, and it's pretty cool because you basically pay one flat price for whatever size of wheel. Again, they're super light. I think they weigh about 14 pounds per wheel. That also helps. Behind the wheels, I have Wilwood 4-piston calipers on each corner. There's a big improvement over the stock drum brakes on the rear and the 1-piston caliper in the front. And it has race polymatrix pads on it, so they tend to not do anything until they're warm. When they're warm, they really stop though. To the back, I have the fuel-safe fuel cell. If you get in a crash or something like that, the fuel's not going anywhere with that. Apex muffler with a custom 3-inch exhaust all the way around. Suspension-wise, you have Koni double adjustable 8610 series shocks. So I ended up going up with the Stack, which is a good quality British item. It basically acts as 10 gauges effectively. It also controls my warning and my shift lights. I can cycle through all the different options. They have peak hold for everything, warnings for everything. I can customize the warnings to go off between like 1 degree. So if oil temperature gets like 146, I can tell it to fire off a warning light. Shift light I can set within 1 RPM. So really, even though it costs a couple of grand, it ends up being not too bad when you add it up compared to the cost of all the individual gauges. Buy British, that's all I can tell you. Pretty much everything has changed. I have the ZG flares on the car to sort of tuck in the wheels, fiberglass hood, roll bars. Engine has a ton of mods, gradient tape manifold, HKS fuel rail, T3 Tier 4 turbo, tile wastegate, Spearco intercooler, giant radiator. Everything on the engine pretty much was changed other than the internals, new water pump, new oil pump. The back is a huge Aeromotive fuel pump, Aeromotive fuel pressure regulator. All the lines are stainless steel braided. Huge fan, Flexolite fan. This thing gets very hot, especially when cruising around the track. Inside, Sparco Pro 2000 seat, Sparco harnesses. Entire dash is custom, made of aluminum. The thing weighs about 3 pounds. Primarily, I did everything based on weight in this car. The car ends up with 15 gallons of fuel weighing about 2150 pounds. When you have 400 horsepower to the ground with 2100 pound car, you have a pretty decent combo. The car is tricky to drive. There's no power steering. It's very bumpy. Every bushing, every component of the car is solid. The bushings are all aluminum. The engine is mounted solidly. The transmission is mounted solidly. There's no urethane. It's all steel, all aluminum, and all metal on metal. It's a handful to drive, especially with the turbo. There's a bit of lag. It only comes up at about 3,500, 4,000 RPM. When it does, it really hits hard, and that's somewhat tricky in corners and transitional related stuff. Handling-wise, this thing probably pulls 1.1, 1.2 Gs in the corners. And when I picked the car in the first place, I wanted something light. I wanted something with good handling. So let's go take it out for a drive. great so far. I've done a couple of track days with it, and it's always fun, blowing by Z06s and that kind of thing on the straight. They're never expecting that. And so, yeah, I'm quite happy with how it turned out.